Have you ever read an article or watched a news anchor cover a story and questioned, is what I'm reading or seeing the truth? Is there another side of the story which I'm not being told? That process is you questioning if your news is biased. With the rise of online news, bias has been exacerbated to a level where news entities use bias as a weapon to discredit their rivals by citing a lack of authenticity.
Far from it. We needed to separate the ABC because of some egregious examples of biased and inappropriate reporting on this conflict.
In this video, we'll discuss an example of one of these incidents where two opposing parties used bias as a weapon in an attempt to discredit each other. In July of 2021, NBC's political director Chuck Todd went on the Decoder podcast hosted by The Verge, where host Nilay Patel asked for Todd's comment on a sense of fairness and objectivity when it comes to journalism and reporting. Todd responded with a statement highlighting that the Republican critics popularized the term liberal bias and it gained traction in the mainstream media.
Governance just has a liberal bias.
He followed up with another statement, claiming that they should have fought better in the mainstream media and stating that perhaps Republicans are more likely to be more factually incorrect than Democrats.
We shouldn't have accepted the premise that there was liberal bias. We should have defended, no, we're stuck in our bias is facts. You know, I hear the attacks on fact checkers where they fact check Republicans 6 times more than they fact check Democrats. Yeah, perhaps the Republicans are being factually incorrect more often than the Democrats.
There was a huge tidal wave of response from Todds Critics. The most popular were critics from Fox News that aired segments responding to certain statements Todd made by various news anchors on their show. These segments focused on showcasing what they claimed as unfair liberal media bias through different reporting segments of reporters over time. This included Todd's reporting as an anchor in previous news segments from MSNBC.
I haven't been in newsrooms. We've both all been in newsrooms. They are very liberal by and large. I've been in Chuck Todd's newsroom. Really? I worked across the street for a time. When Trump won, it was like everybody's mother had died, and they were articulating it as such. So for Chuck Todd to say that, something that is patently false, is beguiling.
Other instances were opinion-based articles by other news sources, such as The Hill and Washington Times, having their say in the matter, showcasing their surprise and dismay at the nonchalant nature of Todd's statements. These articles continued to cite their versions of how there was bias from Todd's news site MSNBC, and, according to them, in the mainstream media in general. We often forget that the news is supposed to report in a fair and unbiased manner. However, by reading the situation at face value, we can see its presence on both sides of the aisle. We must remember that news being biased doesn't necessarily mean it's unreliable either. We can see on MSNBC News that the author bias in their articles is very liberal. Therefore, the notion that there is no liberal bias is not true. It also makes sense why MSNBC doesn't have any articles written on this either, as they were getting slammed by multiple sources regarding Todd's comments. However, this also does not mean that conservative bias doesn't exist. Fox aired news segments on this matter, and if we observe the statistics from the bias meter of the Fox News channel, we can observe that Fox has a clear conservative bias. The common theme from this situation is that each party has their own bias, and they use the other news source's bias as justification for them to be more credible than the other, when in reality, they both have biases and play perfectly into partisan politics. Thank you for joining us. Remember to stay informed and subscribe for free today to gain access to our media bias analytics.